Welcome to Cloud Native Compass, a podcast to help you navigate the vast landscape of the cloud native ecosystem.
We're your hosts. I'm David Flanagan, a technology magpie that can't stop playing with new, shiny things.
I'm Laura Santamaria, a forever learner who is constantly breaking production.
David is supposed to be working on something open source at this point, at least according to our current guest, Kat Cosgrove, one of the subproject leads for SIGrelease in the Kubernetes project.
Kubernetes is the second biggest open source project in the world, which means the only people being paid to contribute to Kubernetes are the lawyers.
In this episode, we didn't even bring up Rust, but we did get to talk with Kat about the release process and what being a maintainer is like, including burnout and handling drive-by PRs.
Enjoy this episode, and for a bit of fun, one project has caused numerous delays to the Kubernetes release. Can you guess what it is? Enjoy.
David and I are excited to have Kat on. Kat is here. Yay!
Hello.
Hi, Kat.
Yay.
You sound so excited.
I'm not well known for my enthusiasm now.
No, I know. It's okay.
Yeah, you fit in well with the Scottish audience and the Scottish culture because you're dry as fuck, and I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, so for those of you who don't know us, the three of us used to work together, and so this is going to be a highly entertaining podcast, I think, more than anything else. But we are trying to talk about the Kubernetes release cycle on this, and who knows if we're going to stick to it, but we're going to find out. So
We'll try.
yeah, why not? David, do you have like a first question? Otherwise, we're just going to dive in. I don't know.
Oh yeah, we'll kick it off with a nice low-hanging fruit, easy to answer, lubricate the conversation. I've never used that before, ever. And now that I've said it out loud, I'm like, yeah.
I think we regret that one. Yeah. File that away for don't do it again. Jesus.
I was actually wanting to make like a whiskey and bourbon intro, and I could quite connect the dots in my head, and we got lubricate the conversation.
For our guests who are joining us in the middle of this conversation, we already have been talking for about 40 minutes, including about bourbon. So there was an attempt, David, that was a entertaining attempt at drawing us back to bourbon. But maybe we should talk about tech first. Then we can talk about bourbon again.
All right.
I don't love computers.
Yeah. What is the who taught Sand to think? Who thought that was a good idea?
I thought teaching Sand to think was fine. Letting the talking sand communicate with other talking sand, that's where we fucked up.
Okay.
So that's where we veered off course, I think.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Way.
All right, David, try to lubricate
I'll
the conversation.
Lubricating it up, right? Let's go. No, I'm not going to make that joke. So let's, Kat, you led the release, our previous release. I think we're now back to releases there. It was called, I don't even know how to pronounce it, Kubernetes. Is that right?
Kubernetes.
Kubernetes.
Yes, I was the release lead for Kubernetes.
Yeah, but you're also continuing your work, right?
I am. I own the release team subproject now. Now I am the release lead's boss and mom and personal assistant and housekeeper.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you went
to which is fun.
So let's come at this from both angles. Let's understand what's involved in leading a release, naming it, all the fun bits as well as the hardships, and then maybe we can talk broader about just how much effort goes into each release, the people involved, and how people can inevitably contribute and help out. Because obviously, this is a fast-moving project. Kubernetes has not stopped in many years, and I'd love to get into that in more detail.
Sure. So we do 3 releases a year. Each cycle is about 4 months long. There's a week-ish and a half of gap between each release where we're not doing anything, which is nice. But yeah, we don't really slow down at any point during the year, which is unfortunate for us, but fortunate for people who rely on Kubernetes if you want new updates frequently. And the release team is not as large as it used to be, but it is still quite large. The team itself is made up of the subproject owners, which is myself and Grace, then a release lead and an emeritus advisor. The emeritus advisor's job is just kind of emotional support for the lead, because it is like it's stressful. It's highly public. You are the face of the release. You have to talk to the press. You have to deal with the CNCF sometimes. You get random DMs from people you don't know and have never spoken to, but they have a lot of power, and that can be overwhelming for some people. And beneath the release lead, they have their own shadows. They have between 4 and 6 release lead shadows who are people who have experience leading a sub team within the release team and may lead a release in the future. There are also several sub-teams. There is a docs sub-team responsible for making sure that any KEP with user-facing changes has documentation. That is a hard requirement. We don't allow KEPs with user-facing changes into the release unless they have documentation. There's a communications team that's responsible for managing things like feature blogs, making sure the release webinar happens, managing the press embargo, handling the release lead schedule for interviews with the press, that kind of stuff. Then an enhancements team that catalogs and makes sure that each KEP has all of its requirements met by certain deadlines like code freeze and test freeze. And release signal, which is bug hunting, basically making sure that our CI looks good before any cut. And if it is bad for whatever reason, if there's a test failing, they chase down the SIG that owns it and make sure that bug gets fixed. Each of those teams has between 4 and 6 shadows and a lead as well. So ultimately, the release lead is managing something like 25 to 30 people for 4 months. It is a lot of work. It can be very overwhelming. Any role on the release team is mostly just project management, but some of them do require like some degree of technical expertise. You have to know how to use Git on basically any team, but you don't have to be an expert in Kubernetes or an expert in open source. It's a pretty common entry point for new people contributing to Kubernetes for the first time. I don't think it is a good way to contribute to Kubernetes for the first time. That's really overwhelming, but people do it all the time and survive. I just don't think it's the easiest or best way to get started in the project, but it's an overwhelming place to be. It's a burnout factory too.
So you obviously then get a lot of floaters coming in and out, a lot of new contributors, people you have to kind of guide-ish. Do you think a lot of it has more to do with just how structured and how short of a time commitment it is that you get so many new people coming through?
I don't think the short time commitment is a consideration, because for a lot of these people, by the time they're halfway through the release cycle, they think 4 months is a long time and they disappear.
Yeah.
What drives people to go through the release team as an entry point is it's very structured. That's for sure a contributing factor. Like, it's very clear how to get involved and what getting involved gets you, which is org membership. Anybody on the release team has to be a Kubernetes org member. So if you are not an org member and you are selected for the release team, we just give you org membership with no previous contributions. I think the bigger contributing factor to people choosing the release team is how public and how flashy it is, and they think it looks good on a resume. Right. And I think that's something that the project doesn't think about enough. We're the second largest open source project in the world. We are the largest Golang-based open source project in the world. And we need to accept that we are no longer a little tiny baby. We are, in fact, like an absolutely enormous force within open source, and people want that on their resume. So they go through the release team because it is an easy way to get a very public aspect of the Kubernetes project on your LinkedIn profile. Don't love that because people do misuse it. But...
Of course. Yeah.
I get that. David. And yeah. I was a shadow for the 1, 12, 13, and 14 release. Well, actually, the reason I stopped contributing is because I kept signing up for other different groups. I only ever did release comms, but I couldn't get accepted into any other group because I think there was a phase where there were so many people applying. It was really difficult.
We get hundreds. We get hundreds of applicants.
So I just stopped applying, but I would definitely love to come back. I didn't do it to get it on my resume. I was the official host of the official, right? And we were all volunteers, but I was the host of the Kubernetes office hours, and joining the release team is actually a good way to keep up to date with what is happening. But I think one of the things that shocked me the most is like the release team is super structured, but the people working on issues and contributing code, it was a bit like the Wild West, like even to the point where the feature enhancements team, you just say, oh, what are we going to do in this release? And they're like, oh, we don't know yet. Oh, well, let's maybe pull in these ones. And it's very ad hoc, and it's very, we'll just see what we can get done. And it felt, I don't want to say wrangling cats, but it did feel like wrangling cats.
So it's definitely more structured now than it was when you were on the team. And we also have far fewer sub-teams now. Now we only have 4. We used to have bug signal or bug triage and CI signal. And there was a testing sub-team as well. So we've deleted some sub-teams and things are definitely much more structured, but the herding cats aspect, absolutely still a problem. It's still an enormous problem. Some SIGs are harder to herd than others, but it is very much still an issue. And that's just the nature of open source, right?
Yeah.
So many of those contributors are just doing it for free.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like everyone working on the Kubernetes Pro, the only people paid for Kubernetes is the CNCF staff. So let's not touch that with a particle. However,
Yeah, true.
working on Kubernetes are volunteers. They have day jobs. Some of them are fortunate enough to be paid to be working on Kubernetes, which is great for the people that work at Google, Red Hat, a couple of other big ones, right? But most people are just, I'll try and get this done. I'll do it at the weekend. I'll do it when I get home. You're asking for questions on documentation updates and is a feature going to make it? And they're replying as they can. And I get that. That's just the nature of open source, as you said. Like people don't.
It's the nature of any
I don't know.
volunteering organization, to be honest with you. Like if you're running a
Exactly.
conference, like no one's really paid to do that if you're doing it as a community conference, and it's when somebody gets time. And so you have to flex around that quite a bit. So I don't think it's unique to open source. The only thing unique about open source, I'd say, is how specialized it can get when you start really getting down to it. So I don't know. It is kind of an interesting conundrum there.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I'll come back to one more question related to my time on it, because that's where most of my experience is, and we can talk about more of the modern day stuff. But the CI Signal was the team that I had the most empathy, I'm not sure which, for. I felt like they were constantly firefighting with everybody pushing up new bugs, new features, all these things, and the CI just falling over. And you actually take a step back to understand just what is happening, how many commits per day there are, how many CI runs, how many GitHub actions that is. It is such a huge, daunting task to keep all of that green and relevant. Is that still the case?
Yeah, it's gotten better. As we've gotten better at writing tests, not everything is blocking now, which is an improvement. But one of the things that made bug triage and CI signal easy enough that we could eliminate them as separate teams and merge them, was actually just a change in the way we manage those teams. We used to handle all of that through a Google spreadsheet, which was a big, shitty, miserable nightmare. The whole release was managed in a single Google sheet. Anything from enhancements tracking to CI signal to bug triage was all just like a bunch of messy automation dumping into a Google sheet. And 6 or 7 releases ago, maybe 6 releases ago, we canned that and switched over to using like a GitHub projects board and some significantly smarter automation for our test grid, which is what the CI signal team was looking at. And now bug triage has like almost nothing to do, so little to do. There's still something, there's still enough that we couldn't just like can the whole role, but we just rolled it into CI signal. And now it's much easier for everybody to deal with. So it's less frantic, but every time there's a bug or a master blocking test fails, it's still frantic. But how frantic that is depends on the SIG that owns that test that failed. Some SIGs are larger and more well-staffed and more responsive than others. And again, it's open source. So everybody has a day job. Everybody has kids and family and pets to take care of. And an important thing that I think not just the public, but a lot of people even within the project don't realize is that by charter, SIGrelease will choose to delay a release before we choose to make the release team work over weekends. So we will not, it is. We will not run our team ragged just to squash a bug and make a release cut. We will just delay it. We've done it in the past. We'll do it again. I personally have been very quick to say no, delay an RC, a release candidate cut, because why? The release date is aspirational and we're not going to make our team miserable to hit it because nobody's paying us.
Yeah. I have to remember, like, I guess I'm kind of showing that maybe I don't remember everything about open source. What open source project does have set releases like this? Really? Like this, like something this big? Even like the Linux kernel doesn't say like we're guaranteeing a release on this day. No one really does that. Not in open source.
Not that I can think of. As well, they don't guarantee it. Some projects will give you their target release dates for every release for the year, whereas we only give you a target date at the beginning of the release cycle. We're discussing the timeline for the next Kubernetes release right now. So within the next week or two, you'll know when the next Kubernetes release's target date is. Some projects will give you their target dates for a whole year, but I don't think anybody guarantees that. I don't think it's not even that common with closed source, like paid. Nobody would guarantee a release date. That's ridiculous. That's a liability.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of that is even remotely, I don't know if guaranteed is the right word, is the Ubuntu releases, because they always do it in April and October. But even then, it's a whole month to hit, not a like
not
this
a single
specific day. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we would never be able to do that anyway, because honestly, the most common cause of a Kubernetes release being delayed is Golang.
Really?
The Go project does not tell us when there's going to be an update coming. We don't get any kind of advance warning. The only time we get advance warning is if it is due to a CVE that affects us. We will know in advance, but we can't tell you that because we all sign NDAs for that. So like we can't actually say anything. But yeah, if Go updates and they update too close to the release date, so that we really want at least 3 days for a new Go version to soak before we call it good and release. If they cut it too close, we have no choice but to delay. I've seen that delay like 3 or 4 Kubernetes releases in my time. Pretty common cause. And we have no control over that. We have no way to predict it because we don't get any kind of advance warning from the Go team. Which is fine. They don't have to give it to us. We can we can work around it. It's no skin off my back to delay a release for a week.
Yeah. Nobody's waiting for it that hard, or they shouldn't be. If they are, maybe you should go touch some grass.
Yeah, touch grass. In the media, because it means that we push their embargo date back, and that's like a little bit irritating. But yeah, it's not the end of the world. Like you're not going to die because you had to wait another release.
Why is there a press embargo date when everything is so open and transparent? What is?
No idea. Wish I knew, bud. I think it's dumb. So we try to keep it secret, right? With the release blog. The release blog will be staged in a PR 2 weeks before an actual release date. And then the little blurb that the release lead writes and the logo will get added to that PR like the day before release, 2 days before release. So it's not public, but if you know how to look at GitHub, like you can see it. You can see it. I don't really get it. Like embargoing interviews with the release lead, fine. I don't really care. But embargoing just writings about the release, which is all based on information that is like very publicly visible on GitHub, seems a little bit ridiculous to me. I don't know. It smells like a formality that's there to make the whole thing seem more important than it actually is.
Yeah, I think it's some weird decision from someone who's worked in press marketing, and it's because I wouldn't name the company, but there's a well-known observability company that always published their What's New in Kubernetes the day before the embargo was supposed to lift, and obviously the information is public. Like it's not like they can't force them to stop it, right?
Yeah, what are you going to do? Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Like you are welcome to do that. I don't love it. It's a little bit irritating. It irritates me in one situation only. When people go and rip quotes out of the unpublished release blog and publish it, that hurts my feelings a little because it's stealing the thunder from the release lead who
worked their butt off
who worked their butt off for 4 months, for probably more like 2 or 3 years, because you gotta lead multiple sub teams to end up as a release lead. It's a lot of work, and it's unpaid work. And the only reward that the release lead gets is publishing that release blog with their cute little couple paragraphs about the release theme and naming it something fun. So I don't like it when people rip that out of the unpublished blog. That's rude. But just talking about what enhancements made it, go ahead, because what enhancements made it has been public for 4-6 weeks at that point because of code freeze. So be my guest. I don't care. It's not, I mean, fight with the CNCF on it, but for me, that's not against the rules. It's in public. It's on GitHub.
Yeah, it's easy to find if you know. I guess there is a little bit of that if you know where to look. And I mean, everyone always talks about how complex and convoluted the Kubernetes GitHub can be for somebody who isn't familiar with how
Yeah.
everything is structured. So I guess there's a little bit of that, maybe.
But for listeners who want to get a sneak peek of what's going to be in the release before the actual release date, the trick is you go look in the Kubernetes website repo.
Yep.
And the release blog will be there in PRs a couple weeks before the release, as well as any unpublished feature blogs.
Yeah.
And if you want to know which enhancements made it, you go to the Kubernetes enhancements repo and go look there.
I mean, or you could join a SIG and be in. There's that too.
You could
I mean, like,
actually
you
do some
could just
work.
be part
You
of
could go
it.
s- Yeah, you could go snooping, or you could come do some free
Yeah.
work for me.
Free work sounds good. Free work sounds good. David.
I'll just read the PRs. It's a lot less effort, and then I can pump them through AI and have it write my own blogs, and then the job done, right?
Oh yeah, easy
Well,
call.
but I'm more saying, David, you could go do some free work. Hint, 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 hint.
Oh yeah, come do some free work for me. We did have a drive-by AI PR issue a little
Oh,
while
I bet
ago.
you did. I
Does
bet
not
you
surprise
did.
me.
I mean,
Yeah.
every open source project has been
Especially
having those.
during Hacktoberfest, right? I'm assuming it was right.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
We do not participate in Hacktoberfest for the same reasons that lots of people don't participate in Hacktoberfest anymore. And it was not a Hacktoberfest thing. It was some paid product that uses AI to improve the docs for open source projects, for style guide compliance and all that. But it is a paid product, and they do these like free drive-by PRs and say, oh, this one's on the house if we can just say you use us.
Oh,
And so we have two problems with that. One, absolutely fucking not without talking to us first. No. Two, the PR was bad. It's entirely automated. It doesn't actually think or learn or understand the structure of the Kubernetes docs website. So it was making changes to a bunch of generated files.
Gotcha.
And some things that, like, admittedly our bad are how we like to write things, but not at the time weren't included in our style guide. So
yeah.
if you own an AI-based project about docs for open source projects, please do not drive by PRs. Just talk to us. For God's sake. We're so easy to get a hold of. Just talk to
I
us.
think the question when
Yeah.
you do this is not, is your product useful and could we get value from it? And that could be a yes, but is that the right way to do it? No.
It could easily be yes. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, like I would love to see like some toil reduced in open source projects, right? Like style guide compliance is an obnoxious thing to review for. It's very ticky-tack, and it's hard to train new people to do that because it's this laundry list of like really specific tiny things that they have to comply with, and they're going to screw up a lot at first until they have the style guide memorized. And it would be great to reduce that work, but you can't just rock up with an unasked for PR and say, hey, can we use you for marketing?
So I will say I know someone, and I am not naming names. I know somebody who for a little while was doing Auto PEP 8 on Python stuff. This was a long time ago. They were doing Auto PEP 8 on Python code in random open source projects and just submitting PRs. They would just run Auto PEP 8, pull it down, run Auto PEP 8, submit the PR, next project. And it was, I think at the time, I don't remember how many they did, but it definitely was a like, what are you doing? Why are you creating more work for a maintainer? You're not even asking. You're not like looking at what they have. This was long before Black and any of those projects that would lint for you and do the Auto PEP. It was just Auto PEP 8. I don't know. I keep thinking about just how many decisions an open source maintainer has to make in the day. How many like reviews they have to do and all that, but just the pure idea of how many decisions, all of that is overwhelming. So if you're going to come in with a random auto-generated PR and ask them to make another decision rather than talking to them first, it is the epitome of
this is the biggest
it is super
problem with
rude,
open source, right? Whether it's automated or not, is that people feel I use your project as open source. I can come along with a 500 million line PR with this feature that no one has ever even talked about. And you're just expecting, well, you're going to accept this because I've done all this work. And it's no, like there's maintenance that comes in the back of that. People have to then,
also,
it's so frustrating.
Yeah. Also, what development team ever would let you do that? In general,
no. Okay,
company, no. There are ones that do this, but like the good ones.
If you're at a tiny startup and you're like a piece of shit 10x engineer, like the lone wolf that like all of your coworkers fucking hate you, but you've been there since the dawn of time. And you're, that XKCD comic with like one tiny project, you're that guy at this 15-person startup.
You're Brent.
And so, even though you're awful and toxic and shitty, they feel like they can't get rid of you. They'll tolerate that guy opening a 15,000 line drive-by PR that refactors the whole goddamn thing without talking to anybody.
I don't know. I always look at some of these and I go like, where did you learn to do development in a team? Like,
I think in a team is the important bit here, right? And I just, because I look at my pull requests on the Rockwood Academy monorepo, and I am a dick.
Well, David, I mean, like that's
over the Christmas break, I rewrote every microservice with a slightly different tool, but that's because I was having fun and it's my project. There's no contributions, external contributions.
There
your own stuff, it's fine.
Yeah,
like your own stuff.
I was just making sure I didn't qualify for the douche card.
That
was it. We can continue now.
Like I literally on some of my commit messages, it's just more, because I don't know what else to write. Like I'm screwing around.
You put words. I just type like A. There may not even be a commit message.
Work in progress, and that's it. And I'm like, I'll edit it later. Edit it later.
Why not? I'm pushing to main the whole time.
I use Commitizen to kind of force myself to have a commit message, but because that's installed globally, so it asks me everywhere, even including in my like personal repos.
You're much kinder to your future self than I am.
Not as much as you would think. You should see some of the comments I leave.
The lesson here is do as we say, not as we do.
Right. Okay. There we go. Yeah. There's the lesson. That's perfect. There we go.
All right, so let's get us back on the track for just a moment.
We had a track.
We pretend sometimes, but Kat has said we'd love more people to come and help out with SIG Release. So let's assume that we want people to listen to this, enjoy it, find it funny, but hopefully help the project. You're both active members of SIGs, to the best of my knowledge. I was previously one, but what I'm going to do is say,
right now,
why do you both do it? What is the reward, the gooey feeling? What if you could say to someone, do this because, right? It's not going to be fame. It's definitely not money. It's not glory. Why do you do this?
All right. Kat, you or me first?
Oh, go ahead.
Do you want me to go first? Okay.
Yes.
I will admit that right now, just due to chaos in my life, I haven't been very active. I do it because I like helping people. That's just, it's a thing. I like teaching people. I like helping people. I don't like sitting on my hands and watching someone else do something for me. I want to do it myself and I want to help somebody get somewhere. So I do it for I helped somebody else out today. I answered somebody's question. I built something that someone else is going to get to use. I do it for that. And granted, I probably have a little bit of a hate for myself considering how many projects I do this with. For everybody who knows.
Please take a vacation.
What?
Please take a vacation.
Eventually. I help run, I don't remember how many conferences I help run now. And meetups and lots of other things along with open source. And now I'm also starting a job with more open source. So it's kind of like, it's just who I am. Long story short, that's why I do
you're
it.
You're busy.
What? Oh yeah, I'm podcast. Sorry. There's that too. I don't know anymore. Like, it's just, where can I be of help? Where can I be of service? And that's where I end up. And unfortunately,
when was the last time you were bored?
Me? Bored?
Yeah.
I don't know what that word means.
I think you need to experience boredom.
Well, but then I have a book. I have a crocheting project. Like, I will unplug. That's different. I still am helping. Does that count?
Okay.
Anyway, Kat, you probably have I don't know if you have a less altruistic version of this, because I think some people think I'm insane. But,
You know what? I got involved by accident a long time ago. Before I was actually involved in the Kubernetes project. We announced a deprecation for an aspect of the project that had been there since the dawn of time. We announced the deprecation of the Docker shim, which was a little software shim that allowed you to use the entire Docker stack as your container runtime. If you're relatively new to Kubernetes and that sounds ridiculous to you, good. It should sound ridiculous. That should never have been a thing. But we announced a deprecation for this, and it was really poorly received. People were freaking out. Twitter was big at the time, and people were freaking out online, and it was 6 a.m, and I was like, people are wrong online.
Oh no.
because people were not freaking out about the right thing. They were misunderstanding what the Docker shim is. They were misunderstanding what Docker is in relation to a container runtime. And they were misunderstanding how this would actually impact both cluster administrators and like regular developers that may work inside of containers but don't actually touch Kubernetes. A lot of people thought we were deprecating Docker as if an open source project has the power to shut down a private business. Initially, I got involved because people were wrong on the internet, and I didn't like seeing people being wrong.
CD comic right there.
It is. So, like, people were wrong online, and I was like, I'm not standing for this at 6 a.m. before I've had any coffee. So I thumbed out a tweet, like 10 tweets long, and it went wildly viral, for tech Twitter at least. And I got dragged into SIG contributor experience, a SIG that I no longer touch, really, to write some blog articles explaining what was actually going on, the actual implications of removing the Docker shim, and why people were misunderstanding and freaking out online. From there, SIGrelease liked the way I handled that from a communications perspective and asked me to come shadow on the comms subteam for version 1.22. And then I just never left, because it turns out that being on the release team is a constant barrage of somebody is wrong on the internet, or I see this glaring problem that everybody else is just stepping around. I know how to fix that. I will go fix that.
Mhm.
So there's just, it is an onslaught. It is nonstop, both like trying to solve technical issues and interpersonal issues. And it just does not get boring at all, ever. So I just never left. I just kept doing that until they gave me a fancy maintainer title. And then I went and did the same thing in SIG Docs, which is why I'm a tech lead over there. And now we're working on unfucking the way we generate our reference API docs for the same reason. It is a problem, and nobody else has bothered to fix it for years. So I'm gonna fix it.
Would you say
Yeah,
that
I like
this-
solving problems.
Would you say that this itches the like an ADHD itch? Because there's always something going
yeah.
on, and you like
There's always
context switch a
something.
ton.
Yeah, there's absolutely always something going on. Like, I'm ignoring 9 Slack messages right now, all from the Kubernetes Slack.
Ping. Don't get
Three people
distracted.
are
Don't get
3
distracted.
people are asking me for something. All of them will get it. But yeah, it's just, if you like chaos and you thrive in chaotic environments, SIGrelease may be for you.
There we go. There's the ad. There's the plug here at the end.
We've never published
know.
a short as a
We were trying to
preview
make
to
it
an
less
episode, but that right there is going out.
That's it right there.
Go for it.
Yeah.
It's not always chaotic. We're trying to make it less chaotic. We're actively making changes to be less chaotic, but it is very, you're all over the place at all times by its nature. Another important thing for newcomers in SIGrelease is, if you are on the release team, you need to be real comfortable not being afraid of people that you might consider to be Kubernetes celebrities.
There you go.
So just because somebody was one of the original 3 committers to Kubernetes and they've been at Google for 25 years, you still got to tell that guy no.
Y'all
Just tell him no.
they're wrong, right?
Yeah,
Like,
tell
no,
him he's wrong,
you're
tell
wrong.
him no. And if he pushes back, then you can come crying to your release leader, you can come crying to me, and we'll take care of it. But you do got to not be afraid of
Right.
people like that. Yeah.
Awesome. Great answers. Thank you both. And, 2 very different answers, both great answers. Laura wants to make the world a better place.
Neither of them
by
psychologically
helping
healthy.
lots of people. And Kat's doing it more with a sword and going, "Argh." But
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that actually sums both of us up fairly well.
yeah.
Actually,
It does.
it does. It does.
Yeah,
Very
that's
well.
why we work well together.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you're both doing great work.
Exactly. There we
That's
go.
fantastic. And I love that it started just from people don't understand the Docker shim deprecation. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
just mad as hell, tweeting at 6 a.m.
With no coffee. That's
No
the line
coffee.
that I'm not sure I believe, Kat, is the you were
Oh,
tweeting
no.
with no coffee.
All of my worst tweets have happened first thing in the morning,
Okay, that's
like
fair.
while I'm waiting for my coffee to brew.
Yeah.
All of the worst ones.
Okay, that's fair. All right, I could believe that one. I think it's more the 10 tweet thread is the one I'm not so sure about. But okay,
Oh yeah, no, I was banging that out while I was waiting for my French press.
there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, I have one more question. And then we'll see what happens after that. But Kubernetes, what was the last release? 132, 133?
33.
I mean, obviously Kubernetes has been a thing now for the best part of, can I even count, 10 years? Yeah, 10 years, almost 11. Is there ever going to be a 2.0, or is backwards
Almost 11.
compatibility something the release team tries to enforce or encourage?
It's like, I wish you didn't ask that question. I can see it.
So here's the thing. That's not my call.
Oh.
Yeah, it is not my call, and it never will be. Like, I don't get to say when we finally bump the major version.
I mean, there is a
I don't
list.
know if there ever will be.
Sorry, no.
We don't enforce things like backwards compatibility. Like, we don't enforce anything really with respect to the technical implementation of an enhancement. It is absolutely not within our purview. Who does have control over that technically is SIG architecture. The enhancement subproject would have a say there, I think. But I don't know. I think it's more fun to just stay as a 1.0 forever.
No. There's just a list of things I would love to see that they worked okay at the time, and I'm like, we need to change this, but we can't because we're so far. My favorite example. Who knows what the default DNS policy is in a Kubernetes cluster? Right.
I do not.
It's cluster first. However, there is a DNS policy called default. And I'm like, can we please fix this? And the default one made sense at the time. It means use the default DNS resolution of the host. Like, fine, sure, it should be host first or whatever. But it's like things like this. I'm like, we should just draw a line and say, we have a golden opportunity.
We found your part.
I should join a release team.
Yeah, here's the thing, David. Baby, it's an open source project. PR is welcome.
Hey.
Open that PR. Like, you want to see the change? Open the PR.
Right.
But then someone would say, let's just
right
deprecate the default policy, create a new one with a name, and then make it 135. And that's an okay solution too. But
yeah, and then do it. Open a cat, file an issue, and then fight with
I'm going to do
it.
And then, but I'm going to have that ready for KubeCon and drum up a rally and protest to get this thing changed. But yeah.
Okay.
And
do you have any other questions, Laura, that you would like to throw towards Kat? Okay.
No, I'm just enjoying having the two of you on the same call with me right now. That's all.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to be selfish and ask a close, not
tech
related at all, just because I would love to know your answers. Okay, because I need a new book, I need a new movie, and I need a new album to listen to. So, Kat's recommendations, Kat's super hits. I don't know what we'll call it, but give me a book, a movie, and an album, please.
Book. I would say, have you read Jeff Vandermeer's Southern Reach? Do you like hard sci-fi? Excellent. You should read Jeff Vandermeer's Southern Reach. It was originally a trilogy. However, he just released a fourth book a little while ago. I just finished it. It's exceptional. Yeah, go read Jeff Vandermeer's Southern Reach. Movie. I have seen Nosferatu twice. I'm going to say go see Nosferatu. If you don't want to go see Nosferatu because you don't like horror movies and you can't take your children to see a scary black and white art house horror flick, I think that Kiss Bang is criminally underrated. And it is not a horror movie. It's a thriller kind of drama starring Robert Downey Jr. before he played Iron Man. It's very good. It's funny. You should go watch that. Album? I don't know. Yes. Do you like industrial? Okay. Are you familiar with the band Health? You are now. Go listen to Health. Any of their records, but their most recent one is great. They're very good.
And are they like industrial EDM-y? Are they industrial metal? Which genre of industrial do they fit in? Good metal, okay.
More like industrial metal. They do a lot of collabs with, they've done collabs with Bad Omens and Poppy as well. So if you like either of them, you'll also like Health, but Health is significantly more industrial and Bad Omens is significantly more metal. I don't know. I've seen them 4 times.
Cool. That'll keep me busy for the next few weeks with my travel. So again, selfish question, but I'm glad I asked now.
Nice.
All right. Thank you so much for your time today, Kat.
Thank you.
Woohoo. Thanks for joining us.
If you want to keep up with us, consider subscribing to the podcast on your favorite podcasting app, or even go to cloudnativecompass.fm.
And if you want us to talk with someone specific or cover a specific topic, reach out to us on any social media platform.
Until next time, when exploring the cloud native landscape, on 3?
On 3.
1, 2, 3. Don't forget your compass.
Don't forget your compass.